In Studio B, this is your day-to-day BYU Sports play-by-play, another winning Monday. I am Spencer Linton alongside Jerem Jordan. BYU football 6-0 for the second time in 2 seasons. They've never done that in the history of BYU football, Amazing. As we just talked about last segment. Joining us now to discuss that and much more is ESPN College Football Insider and analyst, ESPN's Trevor Matich.
The MVP of the lightning delay. Just filling it in the studio. Nice work, Trevor.
Well, yeah, I'm still recovering from that, but no, that was fun, actually. I enjoy doing those big fills like that. I think other people might be a little afraid of them, but I used to do 7 hours of radio every Saturday. So, hey, an hour, that's fun.
Absolutely. You were ready for the moment and delivered. And it didn't really feel like BYU for a lot of the game against Arizona was ready for the moment, especially after said rain delay, but they figured it out, overcame a lot of adversity, and survived Tucson. Trevor, ultimately, why do you think BYU was able to remain perfect and find a way to win that game?
The resilience. I mean, this culture is as rock solid as any I've ever seen at BYU. I mean, the brotherhood is real. The accountability and the expectations are high, but the players accept it. They don't resent it. The competition at positions to see who starts and who gets playing time is high, and players don't resent it. They accept it. They thrive on it. And I think it all comes with head coach Kalani Sitake. We saw his kind of the universe of his emotions and his being on the field against Arizona, because at times he was calm and at times he was fiery. At times he was the fullback that played for Lavelle Edwards. And he loves his players. His players know it. I mean, he deeply, truly, legitimately loves his players and his assistants. And I think when you put all that together, you can coach hard. I mean, Lou Holtz said that when they know that you love them, they'll do anything for you. And Coach Sitake loves them. And I think all together, when you look at all the ups and downs of that game, it's the culture that allowed them to stay together, stay focused, and to do the things they needed to do to overcome a lot of self-inflicted mistakes to win this thing.
This was the first game where it felt like Bear Bachmeier was a freshman. And then he just strapped the team on his back and he took them to victory. What did you see from BYU's freshman signature caller that was a big moment for him in this one?
He's a great culture player here. Because you're right, he completed about 41% of his passes. He threw 2 interceptions. One of them was at the end of the first half. It wasn't that big of a deal. But the other one was a bad interception. It was a throw he should not have made. And he normally doesn't make. But those were 2 big mistakes for a freshman on the road against a very good defense. I mean, statistically, this is one of the best defenses, Arizona, in the Big 12. And there would be every reason for Bear Bachmeier to hang his head and to start to play cautiously. But he didn't do any of that, because amidst the misses by Bear, he made some fantastic throws. I mean, fantastic throws. And then he ran it, 22 times. And it wasn't just that he ran the ball. He made terrific reads as to whether or not he should take it himself or give it to somebody else. And then he made great reads in terms of where to hit the hole and how to do it. And then he protected the football when he was getting banged around 22 times, 22 carries. And so I think that, he got a lot of help. The offensive line was really largely fantastic in this game. And I think that Coach Aaron Roderick, the offensive coordinator, helped him out and did a lot of really creative, wonderful things. For example, the game-winning touchdown was just a brilliant play design. They in overtime, L.J. Martin, just before the snap, took off to the left. So the linebacker that was standing at what would end up as the point of attack where Bear would run the ball, he was on the line of scrimmage. He saw L.J. go. He took off to that side because it looked like they were setting up a bubble screen to L.J. off to the left side, wide left. Well, the snap came to Bear, and when that gap opened up, he took off and hit it hard. Then he jumped over a guy, although jumped is a bit optimistic, and he fought his way into the end zone for the game-winning touchdown. Well, Bear did a great job executing that play, but he was put into fantastic position by the play design of Aaron Roderick and by the blocking of the offensive line. So everything came together in key moments of this game. And the mistakes that they made, the drop passes and, the injuries that they had to overcome and things like that, those are things that are important to talk about. They're important to acknowledge. But at the same time, when the critical plays happened, it was BYU that made the critical plays, and I think that comes back to culture. And for people who think that's, well, why does that help? That's off-field stuff. No, it's not. It's on-field stuff. And the great sports philosopher Rocky Balboa put it this way. He said, to paraphrase, it's not how hard you can hit that matters. It's how hard you can get hit and keep going forward that matters. He said that's how winning is done, and that's what BYU did against Arizona.
It's another Matich Monday on BYU Sports Nation. You mentioned several critical plays were made down the stretch, Trevor. So I guess my question is, thinking about all of the plays that could have gone Arizona's way, that could have given Arizona the game, of that category, what was the most critical? Because you think about fourth down conversions to Parker Kingston, Kyle Safarchuk falling on a fumble and winning that back after Bear Bachmeier fumbles, and then Will Farron drilling a 44-yard field goal in overtime. I mean, there are so many. So what was the most critical, do you feel?
There's two things that come to mind there, Spencer. One is general, one is specific. Generally, Jack Kelly didn't play in this game. Siale Acera took over his role. Acera had 13 tackles all season coming into this game. He had 16, led the team in tackles, taking over the Jack Kelly role. It was a brilliant performance by Acera, and that was a big reason that BYU was able to win this game. That's the general. The specific was the last play of the game, the attempt to score a touchdown in overtime after BYU scored what became the game-winning touchdown. And that was a brilliant defensive play by Evan Johnson. They had three receivers to the left, Arizona did. And one of those receivers, Johnson was covering in man coverage, he ran up a couple of yards and turned around. Now, normally, you do that to draw a defender up to create more space behind so the quarterback can throw it to somebody else. But they did a double move off of that, which was actually a really brilliant play call. That receiver turned around, paused for a second, then he burst out to the edge into the back pylon to try to fool Evan Johnson. Well, Evan Johnson was all over it, and he was so close in coverage that it required an absolutely perfect pass. And it was a very good pass, but it wasn't perfect. It fell incomplete, and game was over. Those are some of the critical things I think that happened in this game. And we think of, the Parker Kingston long, 75-yard touchdown. You think of the 28-yard touchdown run by L.J. Martin. There's a lot of really great moments in this game for BYU. But I think the defense in the performance of Acera, which is also a culture thing, and that last play that was made by Johnson to seal the deal, I think those were the ones that I would point out.
Arizona got schmeved. BYU 6-0 for the first time in program history in back-to-back years, as Spencer mentioned. They've won 17 of their last 19 going back to the start of 2024. Trevor, how would you describe what Kalani Sitake has done in years 2 and 3 in the Big 12 for BYU?
It has been, I don't want to say flawless, but if you're a critic of Coach Sitake, what could you point to that would be negative? I mean, if you really wanted to find something that is it's inadequate from him, what would you point to? And I don't think there is anything that you could really point to. I mean, he has been a fantastic BYU head coach. And he's got his own personality. He's not Lavelle, but he says that he learned a lot from Lavelle Edwards in terms of how to treat his players, how to treat the program, and how to approach it, this kind of a thing. But he puts his own personality in there. I mean, I love it on the sideline when something happens and he just goes nuts. Usually it's a perceived slight, the officials made a mistake or something like that. He doesn't go nuts on his own guys. But when the fire is exposed, and you can see Coach Sitake go. I mean, it is a thing to behold. It's a comet streaking through the sky. We were actually having a conversation on the set at ESPN after the game. And I said, look, of all the head coaches in college football, who would you pick to win an alley fight? And we decided it was Coach Sitake, because I tell you, you don't want to get in front of that guy when he's got the fire lit. right? But he legitimately loves. That combination is so hard to make without one side compromising the other side or one side seeming to be a bit counterfeit. Both sides are real with him. And that's one of the reasons he's such a brilliant head coach for this program.
BYU with a chance to get to 7-0 if, and this is a huge if, they can take care of now number 23 ranked Utah, who, by the way, are a 3.5-point favorite against BYU in Provo. Trevor, as you assessed the matchup on Monday before Saturday, what's top of mind for you for this version of Utah at BYU?
They're going to party like it's 1979. This is going to be a down and dirty line of scrimmage game. When Texas Tech, beat Utah in Salt Lake, what was it, 35-10? After the game, Coach Kyle Whittingham said that if you would have said that Utah was going to lose the line of scrimmage, he would never have believed you. But he said, we did lose the line of scrimmage. And then they go to West Virginia and just powder the Mountaineers. And then Arizona State, who is one of the most physical teams in the Big 12, Utah went and hammered them as well. Utah now is the top rushing team in the Big 12. Who's number 2? BYU. On the other side of the ball, BYU and Utah are number 2 and number 3 in scoring defense. And I think both sides are going to try to establish the line of scrimmage. And so to me, this is going to be a really fun game to watch from an old school, forget the spread them out, air raid kind of stuff. Old school, see who's tougher, see who can play after they knock the opponent's teeth out and they get their own teeth knocked out, and who likes it more, who likes the taste of their own blood in their mouth because of that hit more and want to go forward and hammer some more. This is going to be like the old photos of the Jim Otto, Mean Joe Green, NFL guys that back in the day, those old black and white photos. That's what this game is going to be.
I like the way you're thinking, like 1979, BYU beat Utah 27-0. So I like that vibe. I don't know that that's going to be the particular score. But we do have to ask you, it's a time-tested tradition, Trevor. What's it like to lose to your rival?
You'll have to ask somebody else because I have no idea. The 4 years I played, we were 4-0 against Utah, 4-0 against Utah State. So it's hypothetical to me. Yeah. Man, you know what? It still matters all these years later.
Yes, it does.
Matters.
We ask you still 40 years later. Okay, Devin Dampier is a game changer for Utah's offense. I was hoping he would stink. He's been really good. How does BYU slow him down? And is it in the form of one Jack Kelly?
Well, Jack Kelly's going to help because he'll be the most disruptive player on the field. And part of the way that you slow down this Utah rushing attack with Dampier running the ball so well. And by the way, Dampier is completing around 70% of his passes, I believe, as well. Part of the way you slow that down is you get behind the line and you stop it before it gets started. Well, Jack Kelly excels at that. And so that's part of it. But while you're getting behind the line, it's not just Kelly, it's other people too. You need to maintain gap integrity because Utah, if you get behind the line but you leave a crease, they'll gouge you for 40 yards. So you've got to be both disciplined and wildly aggressive. So can you pull that off? Because Utah is one of those teams that if you can't pull it off, they'll nail you. And you talk about Dampier last week against Arizona State. One of the quarterback ratings I think that's most important is called QBR, quarterback rating, and it doesn't just rate how well you pass and stuff. It's passing and running, and not just what you do, but when you do it. So if you have a play that converts a first down, it's graded much more than if you have a good play that didn't convert a first down, right? So when you do it is important. Bear was about 74 QBR against Arizona. And keep in mind that in QBR, 100 is perfect, 50 is average. Bear was about 74. That's really good. That's winning football overall. Dampier last week against Arizona State was 99.9 out of 100. 99.9 out of 100. And this combines his passing and his running and when he does it. So to be in the right place and not open the door and force them to actually defeat you at the point of attack rather than being out of your lane or out of your gap is critical for BYU because right now Dampier is playing as well as any quarterback in the conference.
Trevor, BYU at number 15 in the latest AP poll with that 6-0 mark. Yes or no, do they have to beat Utah to validate that ranking and show they're a legitimate Big 12 championship game contender?
Well, they don't have to beat Utah. They could lose to Utah and mathematically still get into the Big 12 championship game, maybe play Utah again. But to validate it, it would be good for BYU, because look at the trajectory of their schedule, which has worked out really well for them. They started with Portland State, and then they played a Stanford team with an interim head coach, and then they played East Carolina, and then they got Colorado, and then it got a lot tougher at Arizona, and now it gets tougher still with Utah, and then it stays tough for a long, long time. And so, yeah, BYU is ranked where they are right now, which is good. But I don't know that if I'm a player in that locker room, I don't care at all what the ranking is, because we control what our final ranking will be. And that's the important thing. But from a fan standpoint, it's a lot of fun. So you got to look at who's ahead of them. Right now, the teams that are ahead of BYU outside the top 10 are Oklahoma, Notre Dame, Georgia Tech, who is undefeated, and Tennessee. And so if you're a fan looking at it saying, we should definitely be ahead of which of those teams? And right now, I don't think BYU has played the schedule to be able to say definitively, yeah, we should be ahead of them. It's fun to make the argument, but this opportunity against Utah from a ranking standpoint will certainly solidify that, but it's far more important than the ranking right now. Beating Utah is important for the Big 12 race, but mostly it's important because it's Utah.
Trevor Matich.
Amen.
On BYU Sports Nation. He's never lost to his rival. He's your rain delay MVP and always bringing it on Matich Mondays. Thanks so much for the time, Trevor.
Thanks, Trev.
Thanks, guys.